Hi guys, this is Alan Rach, and today I'm going to be covering up in this video how to install and configure the SASA GateScanner mail system. Now before we begin, this is actually three servers we're speaking of. The first one will be the SQL, second one will be the messaging server, and the third one, and most important, will be the SASA front-end mail, which is where you're going to view the mails and the entire system to be able to configure it. So the main assumption of this video is that you already have installed in your environment SASA GateScanner engine, which is the engine that scans for viruses and convert files and everything. Now to run it, you're already supposed to have a SASA GateScanner MOM console, which will allow you to deploy policies and profiles. And the last but not least is an Exchange server, which will allow you to relay mails in your organization or in your lab environment. Now, in my environment here, which is a lab environment at my home, I actually use the real domain in the purpose of simulating the real scenario of how mails go through and to actually send from Gmail and to see if I received them. So, but you can do it in your own way. You can simulate your own mailing environment, and this is your choice, obviously. I always recommend to do as real as it gets. It really helps you in the long run. Alright, let's begin. So the first part will be a little bit of system and security, because if the environment will not be secured and the system will not be stable, this entire thing worth nothing. And as you all know, there are some features that when you install a new server, it actually comes with an administrator account. It doesn't have a lockout policy, which makes the server an easy target. Really easy. Anyone can hack it, really. Now, this is a working environment, so I'm not going to touch those server. I'm just going to add a replica of those for the purpose of this video. Now, the easiest way to do it, since they all have the same component, all three additional servers, I would just think the easiest way to do it is to create a one server to do the entire configuration on it, and then just replicate it for three servers. The only difference is that on the SQL you have an additional three components, but other than that, everything is the same. So that would be the easiest way, and this is what I'm gonna be covering up in this video. Now you can use Hyper-V or ES6i to your convenience. In my case, since it's my home environment, I choose Hyper-V. So let's go ahead and create a new virtual machine, which will be the first server that we'll be configuring. I'm gonna, just for the sake of not losing and not confusing with the other environment, I'm gonna add this framework of two, and then I'm gonna call it the name, because as you already know, I already have the same replica of this server here, which I'm gonna create in this video. I'm going to go and click next. I'm going to choose the generation 1, which makes not a lot of difference. I'm going to not use dynamic memory. I'm going to give it 2 gigs of memory. I'm going to give it a private NIC. You can do it externally if you want, but I'm going to simulate an environment without internet access. I'm going to call this one drive. Since we have 2 drives, this is going to be the first one. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to give it 128 thin provision since it's a lab environment. And I'm going to choose an ISO file of the installation of 2016 eval. I'm going to go ahead, click next. Done. I'm going to be adding an additional drive. Now, you can do the same in Hyper-V or ES6i, again, doesn't really matter. I'm going to go ahead and click add a new virtual disk. Again, thin provision since it's a lab environment. Now in the VM it's going to be drive D, so I'm going to call it also drive D. I'm going to put it in the same location as drive C. I'm going to give it 128 just like drive C. I'm going to click next and finish. Click OK. Now let's start with the installation. I'm going to go on this screen, click next, install. In here I'm going to choose a desktop experience because I want to have the GUI features, not a black screen with the CLI. So you're going to choose desktop experience, click next. Of course you are green and you read everything, no doubt. Custom. Now you're going to put it in the first drive, which is drive 0, because they yet have names. And the installation is starting. Now at this point I'm gonna pause the video so you don't have to wait, and I'm gonna be doing these pause in every section that takes a little bit time, so you don't have to wait in the video. Also, the parts you're already familiar with, such as system or installation of Windows, you can just simply skip forward. Once the server is finished, it's rebooted successfully, and it's asking me for an administrator account password. So I'm going to create an administrator account password and click next. Now I'm going to sign in with the newly created administrator password. So again, the same password here. I'm going to log in. The thing I'm going to do once I'm logged in is actually disable the default created account. So I'm going to right click on start. I'm going to go to computer management. I'm going to go to users. I'm going to first create new accounts. Now always create a backup. This will be my backup user. Now for the system itself, you're going to create two new users. The first one will be SASA for the entire systems. And the second one will be Scanner for the engines. Go ahead and make them administrator before you cut the place you're actually inside right now, which is administrator. So first you're going to go to groups, administrators, and you're going to add all the users you just created. Lab admin. This is your backup user. I called it on alone. The SASA, and for the engines we said Scanner. Now all those four are inside the administrators group, which makes them a power administrator, and you can remove them from the users group, which is the weaker group. Click OK. At this point you can actually go ahead and restart the server and log back in with the newly created administrator users. So the server is now rebooting after we disable all the default accounts. Now I can log in with the newly created administrator's account. I'm going to work today with Lab Administrator, which is what I use for all my labs. Force of habit. Now the first thing that pops is this server manager dashboard. I'm going to actually use it and add new feature. I'm going to click skip, next, next, next. I'm not going to be adding any server roles here, so I'm going to skip next to reach the features. In the features, I'm going to be adding .NET Framework 3.5. I'm going to be adding the message queuing, which is how the servers will communicate with one another. And I'm going to be adding the Telnet client, which is how I'm going to be checking for communication in between the servers. I'm going to go ahead and click Next, Install. Once it's done, I'm going to hit Close and rearrange the environment as I like it. I don't like to see this server manager screen when I log on. I'm going to close it. I'm going to change the background. This is all nonsense. You don't have to do it in a lab environment, but for the sake of having an organized image, because I'm going to be creating a replica of this one, I'm going to do it exactly as I like it. Can ignore this part. This is simply for me. Easier for me to work like that. This is important. I'm turning the network discovery between them all so they can ping one another and communicate with one another. It's actually opening the ICMP feature on the firewall. Once I'm done, I'm going to actually reboot the server. I'm going to be logging back in with the lab admin. I'm going to be renaming the OS drive into drive C from within the VM, of course. We already did it from outside, from the ESXi or Hyper-V. I'm going to right click on start and I'm going to be going to disk management, which is right here. In here I'm going to choose GPT. It's saying that I have a disk that I need to initialize. Click OK. Once it's done, I'm going to right click, new simple drive, next. Choose drive D. You have to make it drive D. And I'm going to be calling it also drive D. Now, once it's done, I'm going to be able to view it from this PC. Now, in order to secure the server and preventing it from getting hacked, not only we remove the default accounts, which is administrator, guest, and the default other account, which I forgot its name, we're going to actually prevent from someone that do know the username to brute force us. And the way to do it is right click here, click run, type secpol.msc, just like that. Click OK. In here, you're going to go to account policies, and then to password policies, and then to account lockout policies. Choose 10 times, and here move it to 60 minutes. That basically means that if someone tries 10 invalid logons attempt for over a period within 60 minutes, he will get locked for 60 minutes. That will prevent him from brute forcing your server and hack it. Let's close it. Before I'm going to sysprep the server and create an image from it, which will be replicated into 3, I'm going to add some additional components. Copy these two into the server successfully. And the third component will be a .NET Framework offline installer 4.7.2. You can simply Google it. I'm going to show you in this example. I'm going to go to offline installer. I'm going to first download it. Offline installer package here. It's done. Just copy to the server. It's done. These are simply 3 files, and just so you can see it clearly, you can download it from the web. First one is Access Database Engine 64-bit. Second one is Access Runtime 64-bit. And the third one is the .NET Framework 4.7.2. Let's close that window and start with the installation. Next. Just next. Okay. First one is done. Second one is Access Runtime. Yes. Of course you agree and you read the whole thing. Continue. It's done. I'm going to go and close it and install the .NET Framework 4.7.2. Once it's done, I'm going to go ahead and click Finish. I'm going to delete those files as I no longer need them. Next, I'm going to be creating a shared folder, which will make my life a whole lot simpler when I'm going to be using the 3 servers. I'm going to go to Downloads, click on Properties, click on Sharing, Advanced Sharing, share these folders, Permission. For the sake of convenient, I'm going to use everyone here for this example. Of course, in a production environment, I'm going to have to harden it. And I'm going to give it security of everyone. Allow. Next. Now I'm going to go to the IP of the server, which will be... Now, the IP of the server, which actually will be, I'm going to use the one of the front end. Since we're using 3 servers, I'm going to go for the 192.168.490 at the end. In your environment, it can be whatever it can be. So I'm going to actually type that one in. I'm going to go to localhost first. I'm going to see that I have the share. I can access it. Now here, I'm just going to remove the address, copy the whole thing, and here create a shortcut. Paste what you just copied, hit the next button. Now of course it's not going to be available at the moment, and this is why it cannot be found, but we haven't yet configured the IP addresses for the servers since we want to create a replica. So what I'm going to go do is I'm going to create shortcut to someplace else. I'm going to edit it. That's actually not going to work. Ignore that. Let's go to a true location. For example, users, create a... Don't move. Create a shortcut. Now, right click, edit, and you can paste the target you just created. Paste it in target, paste it in start in, and then click OK. It's not gonna let me unless I have an IP configured, so we can go ahead and do that later, or we can cheat. And by cheating, you can go to ncpa.cpl, go ahead and give your nick the IP of the front end, which is 90 in our case, in my lab, subnet, done, close. Now it's gonna probably let me, so I'm gonna do the whole thing from the beginning. I'm gonna go to this PC, I'm gonna go to this URL, I'm gonna scroll back one, and I'm gonna drag it with my right click and create a shortcut here. Now once I have the shortcut ready, since I'm gonna replicate the server, they're gonna all have a shared folder in the downloads of 192.168.490, which is the SASA front-end mail. That's going to be really convenient when you're going to work with huge files. Now just let's bring back the configuration, because we're not going to use the same IP on all servers, obviously. Close it. Now that we hardened the server, which means no one can hack it because it got 10 trials and then it's going to get locked, the users, and the administrator and the guest and all the default accounts are disabled, and we have .NET Framework Access DB installed, we can start sysprepping the server to replicate it. To do that, go to this PC, C drive, Windows, System 32. In here you have a sysprep folder. Again, in C, Windows, System 32, you're gonna have a folder sysprep, and you're gonna right click, run as administrator. Now before I'm gonna go ahead and do that, I'm gonna actually hit Alt F, and then in the menus I'm gonna go to View, Options. This is just for my own convenience, you can ignore that. But on the View tab, I'm gonna hit Display the full path of the title bar, and do not hide extension for well-known files. Now you can see, for example, that sysprep, you do not see an extension. When I'm going to click OK, you're going to realize what each file is. Now I'm going to run it as administrator, enter system out of the box experience, OOBE, generalize, I'm going to mark that, and not reboot, shut down, because otherwise I cannot replicate the machines, and you will see why. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Once it's done, it's going to actually lock you out, and the next stop will be stopping services and shutting down the server. Now what this does, it's preventing an replica of the SID, SID, which is the security identification of each machine. In the same network, if you have on Microsoft two same identical SIDs, you're going to have problems. Sysprep prevents that. It creates a new SID once it's going to start, but we're not going to start it. We're first going to copy it and then paste it 3 times. In Hyper-V, it's export and then import. In E6i, you can simply right-click and then clone. You can create an image of that for other purposes if you want. Makes no difference. Now I'm going to skip forward to the part that I already copied it for 3 machines. So we're going to save time on this video. If you want to view in details how to export and then import machines in Hyper-V, or likewise in VMware environment, you can view other videos which are not related to this one. Okay, so I'm done exporting, then importing after the sysprep. So I'm going to mark these 3 which I just created. I'm going to start, and basically in each one of them I'm going to continue exactly where we left off before we sysprep the machine. Now I'm going to start by logging into each one individually, and it's going to ask me for some general questions, accept the EULA, an administrator password. Of course, we disabled the administrator, so it's not really creating a new administrator account. We're going to log back into our created administrator account to continue where we left off. Now I added these 2 for my convenience. You can obviously ignore them. This is just easier for me to open the command prompt from here. I also installed Google on the main image, which now I'm going to pin in each one individually and set it as the default. Alright, now we're going to configure with IPs. So the first one, I'm gonna hit the run, ncpa.cpl, and this is the main NIC. The 4, I'm gonna give it a static IP. I'm going to disable IPv6 as it's not in use, just overloads the system, and I'm going to give it with that IP address that I gave each one in the title here. So it's going to be 490, it's class C, the router is 254, I'm going to give it Google's DNS services, hit the OK button, done here. Now this NIC on this second interface I had to create in my environment, since VLAN 4, which is the one I'm mainly using for this exercise, is simply for the SASA environment. And if I want to receive emails from the world, from the router, I added this second NIC, which is on the real Ethernet in my home environment. And then I did port forwarding on port 25, which is SMTP. So this one, you either gonna need to do the same, or you can simply ignore it, up to your environment. For me, this is my home environment, so I had to create this NIC. Now it's giving me a warning about multiple NICs, multiple gateways. I know it's not ideal, but I have no choice. I want to receive mails. At this point, I'm going to restart the server and start all over again in each one of the servers. Just do the same. Of course, the same, I mean configure the IPs according to what you gave it. For me, I give it in the title, it's easier. Now, I did the same on all the servers. I did notice, however, that drive D is now gone after the sysprep. So just right click, go to computer management, again, the same procedure like we did in the beginning. Disk management, and from here just simply online, drive D will reappear. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this video now and do the same on all 3 servers to save time. You do the same. I'm done configuring the IP addresses on all the servers. I'm gonna go ahead and change all the name of the servers by right-clicking this PC, properties. If you don't have this PC, you can simply open any explorer, any file explorer, and from here right click this PC, properties. Will get you to the same place. And here you will want to change the default name. So this is a SASA GateScanner mail, so I'm gonna shorten it for, oh I'm sorry, go here change, for SASA mail. Click OK. You'll want to restart, shorting, give it OK, OK, restart now. Go to the next server, change. This is a SQL, so I'm going to call it SASA SQL. Click OK. OK, restart. Go to the third one, SASA messaging, which is right here on the top. Click OK, OK, OK,